Good evening. Thank you for joining us for our annual Missouri Farm Bureau Ambassador Program. Tonight, the judges will be selecting our 2019 ambassadors. The first ambassador program occurred at the 1998 annual meeting. The students chosen this evening will mark the 21st set of Missouri Farm Bureau ambassadors. Two panels of judges have interviewed each student today, and the final selection is based upon the interview and tonight's stage presentation by the finalists. You're going to be meeting 21 bright, energetic, young agricultural leaders who are vying for the opportunity to represent our organization and the agriculture industry throughout 2019. One male and one female contestant will be selected. In addition to representing our organization and agriculture, both will receive a $1,250 scholarship provided by the Missouri Farm Bureau Foundation for Agriculture. Throughout this past year, we've had the pleasure of working with two outstanding ambassadors. They will serve as the masters of ceremony for tonight's program. Jacqueline Janorski represented Buchanan County. Her parents are John and Michelle Janorski. She is a junior at the University of Missouri, majoring in science and agriculture journalism. Charlie Ebsmeyer represented Howard County. His parents are Gerald and Karen Ebsmeyer. Charlie is a senior at the University of Missouri, majoring in agronomy. Please join me in thanking them for an outstanding year and welcome them to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. 2018 has been an outstanding year serving as Missouri Farm Bureau ambassadors. Charlie will agree that we have had a fun time, enjoyed some wonderful opportunities, and I honestly can't believe the year has gone by this fast and that we're already back on this stage now to give up our titles as ambassadors. And you know, this weekend so far, we've kind of been chatting with some Farm Bureau members, and they said to us, you've done a good job so far, and, you haven't embarrassed Farm Bureau, but, Charlie and I were kind of thinking, we still have tonight with all of you all in these microphones, so hopefully we don't embarrass ourselves tonight in front of you all.
Later in the program, we will share details from our year, but first, we want you to meet the students contending for the title of the 2019 Missouri Farm Bureau Ambassadors.
As we announce the county name, each contestant will come onto the stage and introduce themselves.
Good evening, my name is Jessica Janorski. I'm a senior at DeKalb High School, and my parents are John and Michelle Janorski of St. Joseph.
Hello everyone, my name is Allie Locke, and I'm a freshman at the University of Missouri-Columbia. My parents are Doug and Terry Locke from Carrollton, Missouri.
Hello, my name is Wyatt Wilson. I'm a freshman at Missouri State University. My parents are John and April Wilson of Ava, Missouri.
Good evening, my name is Tucker Biddick, and I'm a senior at the Mount Vernon High School. My parents are Carrie Andrews, Jeff Andrews, and Jason Biddick from Southwest Missouri.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nathan Kinsey. I'm a freshman at the University of Missouri-Columbia, and my parents are Pat and Andrea Kinsey of Silas.
Hello, my name is Marlena Long, and I am a senior at Paris High School. I am the daughter of Greg and Laura Long of Paris, Missouri.
Statistically, I'm most likely an anomaly when it comes to a regular teenager who grew up in rural Missouri. First, I've had the opportunity to grow up on a farm. Upon graduating high school and attending my first semester at Missouri State University, I've noticed that several of my classmates didn't have the same opportunity. Although they share the same interest in agriculture, they don't have this farming background. Second, both of my parents are employed in the agriculture industry off the farm, in addition to running our family's cow-calf operation, with one parent being employed by the Natural Resource Conservation Service and the other being employed as an ag educator. I've been introduced to many facets of the agriculture industry. Third, although I do call Douglas County my home, I also claim Ozark County. I've attended Gainesville School District through my entire educational experience and have had several opportunities to work on several different farms within the county. Growing up on the farm, living with parents who work in the ag industry off the farm, and calling 2 counties my home has introduced me to great opportunities and great experience within the agriculture industry. I remember my first lesson in Ag Science 1. My advisor, my father, asked the class one question. Whenever I say agriculture career, what do you think of? And now I assume he's asked this question to every class of freshmen he's ever taught. And I assume he's gotten the same or similar responses with every class of new green hands. Cows and plows. You know, the typical farm stereotype. But what we as students didn't realize is that our list of answers didn't even begin to scratch the surface of all the wonderful opportunities that we have in the agriculture industry. In the farm study conducted by the Department of Agriculture and the Missouri Farm Bureau, you'll find the unique diverseness of each county in our state. For example, in Douglas County, where I reside, we have a very, very unique and great diversity of agriculture opportunities. Not only do we raise livestock, hay, and a few crops, we also rely on the timber industry as an important part of our economy's income. Commercial logging employs about 139 people and has a sales value of $9.6 million. I've witnessed this firsthand on our farm. In 2014 and 15, we practiced selective harvesting, taking out black oak, red oak, and white oak. Our timber was bought and used in Missouri for oak barrels, specialty shipping crates, and other various items. This year, we harvested black walnut, capitalizing on the increased demand and shortage of supply. Along with raising traditional livestock, in Douglas and Ozark counties, we also have fish farms. Fisheries is a great addition to the income generated in our state. From raising catfish to trout for consumption and stocking waterways to recreational purposes to where you can pay to catch some pretty nice fish. This agriculture enterprise brings consumers and producers alike together to engage in outdoor recreation and agriculture production. Another opportunity to get involved in agriculture production in my home community is with vegetable production. Vegetable producers utilize high tunnels to extend the length of their growing season well beyond the normal year. They partner with the NRCS to get these structures built. Then they're able to sell their produce across the state at farmers markets, local businesses, and local restaurants. Not only does the NRCS help with these specialty crop farmers, they also help improve crop production and grazing systems. Last year, we installed waterers on our farm to help improve our grazing management. We met with grazing specialists, soil scientists, and technicians to get this goal accomplished. Together with these 2 agencies, we were able to properly initiate our grazing system. I recently experienced a truly once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I was selected to take a week-long trip to Taiwan to learn about their agriculture. While I was in Taiwan, I watched these farmers who lived on this island about the size of Maryland farm with the most limited resource of all, and that's land. The average size of the Taiwan farm is about 2 hectares, or roughly 5 acres. These producers have found a way to produce papayas, yams, rice, pineapples for their own country, and as well as take care of needs for the countries around them. The average Missouri farm size is around 289 acres. That's roughly 55 times the size of the average Taiwan farm. Seeing these numbers not only made me thankful for what I have, but thankful for all the opportunities that are available in rural Missouri. So, if my classmates, your children and grandchildren, choose to go to college and attain a higher education, we should support them in their efforts. However, we should also encourage them to bring the knowledge they gain back to rural Missouri and put into practice, just like all the people I mentioned in my speech. There are great opportunities, great careers, and great places to call home in rural Missouri. I'm proud of my rural way of life, and I'm proud to call it home.
red buckets, 3-gallon rubber buckets, 5-gallon buckets, some of them with lids. I, like most of you, have all kinds of buckets around my farm. However, it wasn't until my buddy, Colby Dan, was touring with me one evening that I learned the true meaning of buckets. As the two of us loaded the buckets of cattle feed into the back of the Gator, Colby looked up at me and said, "You know, Marlena, my dad tells my older brother that there are buckets of opportunity just waiting for him. Do you think there are buckets of opportunity just waiting for us?" I must admit that Colby's question caught me a bit off guard. I mean, it was a rather profound question to be coming from my 6-year-old chore date. After a little hesitation, I answered, "Yes, Colby Dan, I know that the world is full of buckets of opportunity. And if you and I work hard, make good choices, and treat people with respect, I don't think there's enough buckets on this whole farm to fill with our opportunities." You may realize that I tend to be a rather positive person. Some say I inherited the trait from my mom, but I would argue that I worked to learn this skill through programs such as 4-H and FFA. But either way, I suppose my optimistic attitude is responsible for why I so strongly believe that rural America is full of buckets of opportunity. Webster Dictionary defines opportunity as a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. If this is the definition, then I know rural America is truly the land of opportunity and a great place for me to call home. In a rural community, you can choose to fill your bucket in several different ways. For example, you may choose to use the rich farmland to raise food for our growing world. Or maybe you choose to lead entrepreneurial ventures using your skills and the skills of your honest and hardworking neighbors. Or maybe you choose to think outside the box and find a new way to use technological advancements in communication to do great things from the comfort of your rural American home. Over the past few decades, we have seen people leave rural areas and flock to larger cities in search of jobs and the American dream. However, I would argue that now more than ever seen in American history, the opportunities of our great nation lie in the remote and rural areas of our country. The trends that left ghost towns across the Midwest have reversed, and our rural areas are now the epicenter of economic growth. In my short lifetime, I have witnessed firsthand the successes of rural America. For example, Colby's parents, the Kendricks, are 4th-generation farmers in my small town. They work hard each day to be safe, reliable, and efficient food producers. Another couple, Lee and Kelly Wade, own and operate our local feed store. They saw a need in our community, secured financing, and used their networking abilities to build relationships with vendors and customers. Fortunately, these young couples saw the buckets of opportunity our small community had to offer and stepped up to the challenge to make Paris their home. Another couple, Juan and Shirley Ramos, moved back to Paris after retiring from the military. In just 10 short years, I watched them rejuvenate our downtown area. They opened a hardware store, a Mexican restaurant, and even renovated some homes in our small community. Their positive, can-do attitude is contagious, and now others in our community are taking the risk to follow their dreams and fill their own buckets. My parents are another great example of a couple that saw the buckets of opportunity rural America had to offer. They both grew up on farms, went to college, and then pursued careers that took them to New York City. However, in 1996, they decided to follow their dream of farming and raising a family in rural Missouri. Soon after they moved here, buckets of opportunity surrounded them. With the help of their neighbors, they brought back our local tractor pull, rebuilt our Young Farmers program, and even helped our school board reinstate the Paris FFA chapter. Their buckets may have been empty when they moved to Paris 22 years ago, but I am very grateful that they were inspired to seek opportunities in rural America. Yellow buckets, red buckets, 3-gallon rubber buckets, 5-gallon buckets, some of them with lids. Yes, rural America is positioned to not only survive, but to thrive. I, Marlena Long, may have empty buckets now, but just like I told my chore date that evening, if I'm willing to work hard, make good choices, and treat people with respect, I have ample opportunity to fill my buckets and make rural America my home. Thank you.
Driving down Main Street on a cool, crisp fall day, I looked around my hometown of Carrollton, Missouri. I saw the park I played in as a child with kids running around playing tag. I saw farmers getting ready to head back out to the field after a nice warm lunch at Main Street Restaurant. And I saw people coming in and out of Shirley's Shoes and Boots, shopping bags in their hand. Looking around, I couldn't imagine why someone wouldn't want to call this place their home. Until I stopped and took a second look. You see, while I saw everything that made me love Carrollton, others saw the empty buildings on Main Street, the potholes on every other road, and when they opened their favorite phone app, they had little to no internet connection. As rural Americans, it is hard for us to understand why someone wouldn't want to call our small community their home. But all it takes is a second look to see that times are changing, and if rural America wants to stay on the map, we will have to change as well. By looking at why people are leaving and understanding the opportunities in rural America, we will be able to piece together our communities for the next generation. My name is Allie Locke, and this is my speech, Rural America, New Opportunities to Call It Home. Many are not surprised to see that more and more people are leaving rural America. But why would someone choose to stay or even come back? For many, it is the commitment of family. Some come back to take care of aging family members. Some come back to start a new family of their own. Whatever the reason, family seems to be able to tie rural communities together. But no matter the reason, whether you are coming back for your current or growing family, you will need a way to support yourself. Rural communities are known for their values. From faith to perseverance, we are taught these values throughout our whole lives. In rural America, we value careers. In small communities, your career becomes your lifestyle, and your lifestyle is the way you support your family. Luckily for us in rural America, new opportunities are coming in the form of careers as industries realize the value of the rural workforce. Industries such as healthcare, education, and finance are in desperate need of rural workers. And even if you are not involved in one of those industries, new opportunities such as telecommuting jobs are becoming available, where you can work on a spectrum of industries, all from sitting at a computer. But therein lies another challenge. In rural America, we are known for our traditions. 30 years ago, a traditional conversation may have looked like two neighbors having a conversation at the grocery store. But in today's world, conversations are a mixture of Snapchats, emails, text messages, direct messages, most of which require an internet connection. And in rural America, our internet is severely lacking. You see, rural broadband has been left behind up until recent years. But thanks to organizations that continue to fight for rural values, such as the Missouri Department of Agriculture and even the American Farm Bureau Association, we are finally beginning to break ground on this important issue. You see, Carrollton, Missouri may be a long ways from perfect, but I am grateful that I was able to grow up in a rural community. The family, the values, and the tradition have helped shape me into the person that I am today. Rural America is on the map and it is here to stay. The family, the faith, the values, the tradition is ingrained in rural America. New opportunities are calling and it is time for us to pick up the phone and answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Allie.
Are the judges ready? Every morning, I get the opportunity to wake up and listen to the sound of the birds chirping in the trees, the cattle bellowing in the fields, the wind rushing through the fields, and the sound of my mom yelling at me to get up. With the exception of that last one, these are all opportunities that I'm able to receive unabridged from the sound of cars on the interstate, people honking their horns in the road, or dozens of buildings blocking the wind before it can reach me. I live in rural Missouri, and the blessings that I've received from God through that have changed me in ways that I can't even truly explain. This is why I think it is so unfortunate that the news, media, movies, and literature have minimalized the rural lifestyle into a point of near obscurity over the past several years. If I could just talk to some of these people, I know that I could explain the experiences I've had and maybe even help them understand where I'm coming from on a fundamental view and help them understand that the rural lifestyle is not only more desirable in many ways, but it is so much better and more fulfilling at the end of the day. There are so many fresh opportunities for people to live in rural America, and one of those is the access to broadband internet. The debate over broadband internet has been the subject of quite a lot of turmoil over the past several years. On one side, you have proponents arguing against it, saying that there's just a bunch of farmers in rural America who use flip phones, have never shown an interest in that much internet, and probably aren't even going to be using this expensive infrastructure that they're going to be putting up. On the other side of the debate, which I personally support, are the people saying that perhaps these agriculturists, these producers, these ranchers, these cattlemen don't show interest in this internet product because they've never gotten the experience or the time to have the internet because they've never had access to it. I am one of those families that never had the opportunity to even experience the internet until recently. Before we had the internet, my family was having to drive me to McDonald's or a friend's house or any other source of internet just for me to complete my homework. Living on a farm, I had responsibilities and I had chores to take care of, and it was becoming so strenuous and hard on my family to take care of this that we had to move closer to town just so that I could do my homework and take care of my chores. My sisters were coming of the age where they were going to be doing the exact same thing, and so it was imperative that we had to move. What I thought was simply going to make my homework a lot quicker fundamentally changed how I research topics, how I learn information, how I receive my news, and how I interpret the entire world. While it sure did make my homework a lot easier to get done a lot faster, I had access to things like YouTube, Google, Wikipedia. I don't know how much you trust Wikipedia anymore, but it was there. And these were things that I never would have even imagined that I would have used with the internet. And I am so thankful that I am able to use that now. It really is a shame that only 39% of rural Missourians even have access to broadband internet. Perhaps these farmers and these agriculturists don't show interest in it because they didn't get the opportunity like I've had. Fortunately, this is soon to change. House Bill 1880, passed back in May, was legislation that was supported by the Missouri Farm Bureau. What it boiled down to was creating a fund and a committee in order just to expand broadband internet to rural Missourians. And fortunately, it's already helping thousands of Missourians across the state. Along with this, there was another piece of legislation passed earlier in the year on the federal level. President Trump has allocated $2 billion towards the expansion of rural broadband internet for the entire country, and Missouri was allowed $255 million out of that. This is going to go towards bringing the internet and rural broadband to 95,000 Missourians. That is 95,000 households where the internet is going to be fundamentally changing how people perceive the world, how they profit from their operations, how they fix their equipment. It's going to change really everything over the next decade as these services are being put into place. And the real cherry on top of this entire amazing Sunday is the fact that with House Bill 1880 being passed, these broadband lines are not going to require eminent domain to put them in the ground without a farmer's or agriculture's or any other landowner's permission. Instead, legislators are working with electric co-ops to put these lines on existing power poles with the permission of the landowner, of course. And what this is going to do is going to protect the landowner from receiving economic damage from this without them really wanting it. I think this is fantastic because the Missouri Farm Bureau, and I'm sure every single landowner in Missouri, definitely has something to say about eminent domain. Eminent domain can be a very big deal to many people, and the fact that it's being minimalized with this bill just shows how far we've come as a country towards limiting it. Rural broadband is going to expand thousands of people's ability to do agriculture across our state. It is such a great incentive for people to move to the rural areas because all of a sudden, what if they were the exact same family as me who was stuck in a city wanting to move out to the country, but they couldn't because they had to do homework? All of a sudden, it opens up the door for them to come in, to have a family out in the country, and for them to experience the birds in the trees, the wind in the field, raising cattle, whatever they want to do with their land. It's going to let them experience all of that and not have the issues of being in a lack of internet. Rural broadband is going to fundamentally change how Missourians live and really rural Americans across our nation. And I believe that it is one of the biggest reasons that rural America and rural Missouri is such a great place to live as it is expanded. Thank you.
From hunting, fishing, boating, and camping, to modern opportunities and innovative technology, rural Missouri has it all. From the winding rivers to the rolling hills, from the prairies and grassy fields, to the fertile farmland, to the countryside filled with grazing livestock, rural Missouri is an amazing place to call home. I see rural Missouri as the new place for Americans to call home. Just imagine sitting on the front porch of your house. Your kids are outside running, laughing, and playing with each other in their frisky Collie Duke. Your kids are growing like weeds. You love your life. Everyone waves to you as you drive down the highway or fill up your fuel tank at the local gas station. The entire community knows and cares about each other. You rejoice and grieve together depending on the situation. Of course, everybody attends school and church events, and they know their neighbor's business, the good, bad, and the ugly. Now, I've heard farming described as the art of losing money while working 400 hours a month to feed people who think you're trying to kill them, but that's obviously different. In today's society, most Americans are 2 to 3 generations removed from the family farm. Some people value the opinions of vegans and animal activists over farmers and veterinarians when it comes to how to grow their food and raise their livestock. In today's world, advocates for agriculture are trying to bridge that gap between those who have experience with those who don't. Farmers are embracing technology, and more jobs are being created in rural Missouri. Farmers can use rural broadband to have vital real-time data such as commodity prices, crop reports, field data, and weather forecasts. From a precise amount of fertilizer to the amount of water needed to sustain a specific crop. Farmers can use the internet to review data on types of seeds, pesticide, herbicides, to see how crops are doing around the state during the crop season. From energy, education, healthcare, and agriculture, rural broadband can lead to new businesses, increase household incomes, lower unemployment rates, and increase educational opportunities. For example, rural broadband allows new businesses to create, manage, and accept payments online. Marketing through social media outlets can also be very beneficial. Agribusiness and agritourism offer new ventures for families. Rural broadband brings the opportunity for direct access to healthcare services and enables people with chronic health issues to live in rural Missouri. Computers, smartphones, and fiber optics are becoming a big part of rural Missouri life. Many rural Missouri residents have the opportunity to work from the family farm, the quiet country hillside, while still participating in the fast-paced business world. By using technology, companies can work efficiently with other employees all over the state or globe. Now, the best way that I can advocate for life in Missouri is to share a personal story. I can remember sitting in class my senior year. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning. I got a text message from my mom that said, "Dad needs you now. He needs help with the cow that's calving." My heart immediately began to race. For any of you who raise cattle, you know that when a cow needs help birthing, it's bad news. I got another quick text message from my mom, and Grant, my mom never texts me at school. It said, "I've already called the school, just come on home." As I was rushing out to my truck, my heart was pounding. The 2-mile drive home seemed like 20. As I pulled in the lane, I saw Dad driving the cow up to the barn. My older brother Nick was away at college. My younger brother Ethan was still in school. So Dad and I were on our own. And boy, let me tell you, I was worried. Dad and I had to pull the calf because nature refused to cooperate. Now, while trying to pull this calf, we hoped we wouldn't ruin this new heifer from future pregnancies. We pulled and pulled until we were covered in manure and sweat. The poor heifer was so miserable and so stressed, we were both ready to give up. Finally, the newborn calf pulled loose, and the heifer bawled with relief. Back at school, Principal Hamlet asked how things were going, patted me on the back. Said, "Nathan, we're glad you and your dad witnessed that calf and cow today. Don't worry, you won't be marked absent." I grinned and we shook hands. I still had my 13 years of perfect attendance. At that moment, I knew that I will always be grateful for growing up in rural Missouri. I will always call this place home. Rural living is not just about cows, sows, and plows. It's about planting family roots and true neighbor-to-neighbor friendships. Rural Missouri is a wonderful, forever home for many and a temporarily unique escape for others. So whether you work on a farm, from home, or corporate office, there's room for you in rural Missouri. We have fresh air, room to grow, a place that welcomes everyone and opportunity, a place that I will always call home. Thank you.
What do you want to be when you grow up? Think back to when you were younger and how you might have answered that question. Maybe you said that you would have liked to be an astronaut, a ballerina, or even a doctor. Or maybe you answered farmer. Everyone dreams of what they will be when they grow up. However, sometimes those dreams may seem unreachable. The Missouri Farm Bureau Federation is stepping up to the challenge of helping young people reach their goal of coming back to rural Missouri. At Youth Leadership Day in Jefferson City, 400 students from across the state gathered to learn about agriculture issues impacting Missouri. with regular meetings and opportunities for members to participate in agriculture advocacy competitions, Collegiate Farm Bureau provides a platform for students to stay involved in the industry. But Missouri Farm Bureau is helping in other ways too. The importance of internet across the state has increased in young people everywhere. However, most Missourians, rural Missourians, lack access to reliable, high-speed internet. And it goes beyond smartphones and social media. Young people are less likely to stay on the farm if it means less access to technology in education and healthcare. Our state ranks 42nd in broadband access. Missouri Farm Bureau helped push for a bill that was set up by Senator Dan Hegeman and Representative DeLis Johnson that started the Rural Broadband Development Fund. This fund creates framework of how rural areas will be delivered service when it comes to improving Missouri's internet. The importance of internet across the state can also be traced to an increased connectivity in tractors, planters, harvesters, and even agricultural drones. Precision agriculture allows data collected by farming equipment to be transferred from one data processor to the next. Drones equipped with near-infrared camera sensors allow farmers to access information on plant health that illustrates how much light is absorbed in photosynthesis. Detailed GPS maps also provide opportunities for farmers to plan where to plant different crops. Kyle Miller, a college student in Iowa, came back to his family farm to implement the usage of drones in crop scouting. Infrared images can tell Kyle which areas, down to the individual soybean plant, may be iron deficient. Not only is this a huge time saver, but it also allows for easier planning. New technology in agriculture is appealing to younger generations. However, the internet plays a critical role in its development. Marla, a John Deere employee and farmer from Illinois, told me at National FFA Convention about the importance of diversifying the farm in order to bring younger generations home. In today's age, oftentimes when farm kids graduate college, there isn't much left for them to do on the family farm because their parents are still working. The average age of the American farmer is 58 years and is only on the rise. Not only will diversification provide new opportunities for young people, but it will also help maximize a farmer's return by allocating their resources in different areas. However, it's not just about bringing young people back to the farm, it's about bringing them back to agriculture. In order for agriculture to flourish, we will need agriculture advocates, educators, supporters, and consumers who understand our industry. Working at a local coffee shop in St. Joseph, I often get questions from customers like, are your products organic? Or, does this contain GMOs? We must use our voices to tell our story to help combat and prevent such misconceptions in our industry. New technology in agriculture, such as drones, will help keep younger generations involved in the industry. High-speed internet will allow rural communities to advance with the rest of the world, while diversification will provide new opportunities. There's no single answer of what will bring young people back to the farm, but we do know that the Missouri Farm Bureau Federation will play a critical role in that task. What do I want to be when I grow up? I want to be an agriculture advocate, supporter, and maybe even a lobbyist influencing policy one day. Whether your dream occupation has everything to do with agriculture or nothing, we should all want to be supporters of Missouri's #1 industry when we grow up.
Wyatt, as you think about your future, what would entice you to live and work in a rural area? And I repeat, as you think about your future, what would entice you to live and work in a rural area?
One of my goals in life is to one day own my own farm and pass that on to my future family, my future kids. That's one of the biggest things that entices me. Also, all the opportunities that a person has to affect agriculture directly without living on a farm. I talked in my speech about those careers. They don't have anything to do with running a farm, but they directly affect these. And these opportunities to call it home without being that farmer that everybody knows. I think that would be the biggest thing for me.
Thank you, Wyatt.
Marlena, your question is, as you think about your future, what would entice you to live and work in a rural area? And I repeat, as you think about your future, what would entice you to live and work in a rural area?
One thing that would drive me to live and work in a rural area is my experiences as I've grown up. One thing that I'm very passionate about is showing livestock, and that's something that I want my kids to have as they grow up. So to do that, I would have to live in a rural area to be able to raise my livestock and own that livestock, and so that is one thing that would drive me to live in a rural area.
Allie, as you think about your future, what would entice you to live and work in a rural area? And once again, as you think about your future, what would entice you to live and work in a rural area?
Personally, what would entice me to live and work in a rural community is exactly what I said in my speech earlier: family, values, and tradition. But my career path is a little varied. I am an ag business major at the University of Missouri-Columbia with an emphasis in policy, and so that specific major and potential job might not directly fit in a rural community traditionally. But in my speech, as I said, there are new opportunities coming to rural America, such as telecommuting jobs. So if there would be a way potentially in the future that I could work on agricultural policy right there from Carrollton, Missouri, surrounded by agriculture, what better tie would I have to a farmer? We often speak how government and politics is often spread apart from the farmer, from the traditional agriculturalist. But what if we had our policymakers right in our own backyards? So personally, I would love to come back to rural community for the family, values, and traditions. And hopefully in the future, with the advancement of technology, with the advancement in careers, I'll be able to. Thank you.
Tucker, as you think about your future, what would entice you to live and work in a rural area? And I repeat, as you think about your future, what would entice you to live and work in a rural area?
I think that the biggest thing that would entice me to live and work in a rural area is simply the sense of community and family that I have where I live. In my town, it's relatively big for a rural community, and yet I still know dozens and dozens of people from my town. I can still walk through the streets and have someone say, "Hey Tucker, how's your day?" And I can say the same thing back to them with full certainty that I know who they are, I know their history, I know their story. I think that alone would entice me to want to live and work in a rural community, and I think that right there is one of the backbones of this country. It's just the ability to get to know one another and know that we're all alike and different in our own individual ways, and that growing together into a community, putting aside our differences and living with each other is just the best thing that there is.
What would entice you to live and work in a rural area? And again, I repeat, as you think about your future, what would entice you to live and work in a rural area?
So I went over this in my speech, and I'm not going to give that again, but I talked about education, healthcare, and just agriculture in general, and just all the people that make rural Missouri who it is. So we have small schools, more time per student, great healthcare, like I talked about with chronic health disease and issues, and allows people to live in rural Missouri, and just agriculture in general. We're becoming more advanced. We're bringing rural broadband into rural Missouri, and that's a big part of why I would want to live in rural Missouri.
Thank you.
Jessica, as you think about your future, what would entice you to live and work in a rural area? And I repeat, as you think about your future, what would entice you to live and work in a rural area?
My dream occupation is actually being a lobbyist for this very industry, and in order to do that, I would need to understand what I'm lobbying for and understand the rural way of life. And so that's one thing that would entice me to live and work in a rural area, is being able to understand those around me. But other than that, I mentioned in my speech earlier that broadband is really lacking in our state. There are over 1 million Missourians who lack access to the adequate amount of broadband, and only two states have it worse than us, and that's California and Texas, who have that amount, and those are both very populous states. And so in order to stay connected, I would need adequate broadband, but also a love for the community.
All right, as you can see, that is a very hard task to answer an extemporaneous question on stage. So once again, let's give a final round of applause for those contestants. The judges will now be dismissed to make their decision. Let's thank them again for their help. I know we will all be anxiously awaiting to hear back from them in a few minutes.
In just a few minutes, Jacqueline and I will be ending our year as Missouri Farm Bureau Ambassador. We have very much enjoyed this year and want to share some of the highlights of our past year this evening.
So kind of going off of our theme of gratitude for this year's annual meeting, I really wanted to express my sincere gratitude for having this opportunity to represent you all in agriculture as your ambassador for the past year. As I'm sure most of you know, the ambassadors get to receive a scholarship that can go towards their college education. And as someone who's paying for their own college education, that scholarship made a very big difference in my life. So thank you for investing in me in that way. But also thank you for investing in me in other ways as well. One of the biggest things I've learned this year as Farm Bureau Ambassador is that Missouri Farm Bureau is like one big, giant family. And I think Charlie and I can both say we learned a lot about that on our trip to Washington, D.C. this year. And aside from investing in me financially, people invested in me to have the opportunity to learn more about our democratic process in Washington, D.C. And so I really enjoyed that opportunity to go to D.C. and meet with our legislators and talk to them about things like the Farm Bill, which is still going on right now. But that was a great opportunity for me as someone who was only 20 years old and just became of voting age to learn more about our process and all of the different things that go into it and really begin to value that process as well as what you all with Missouri Farm Bureau are doing with the grassroots organization. So thank you for allowing me to learn very in-depth about that this year. There's also some other ways that people have helped me out this year. So it's an awesome opportunity to go to Washington, D.C., and that does mean we had to miss a little bit of school. And so, most university professors will be like, yeah, you can go, whatever, but you have to make sure to complete your homework while you're on these trips. And so it was while I was in trips, I'm a science and agricultural journalism student. And so I was in a very writing-intensive course last semester in the spring when we went to D.C. And I had to write a 24-hour news story while I was there. So that means I had to cover a news event And then once it ended, I had 24 hours to turn in my story to my professors. And so I got to utilize Spencer Tuma, I got to talk to other people, Meg Kaiser, Chris, everyone, all these people helped me so much with interviews and talking about ag for those stories. So I'm very thankful for them for helping me with my homework while I'm at that trip. And I think that's just one of the little ways that the members of Missouri Farm Bureau are willing to step up and help the ambassadors or anyone in this organization or rural Missourians. They're willing to help each other out. And I was just so thankful for that help, and I think it really just shows so much about this organization. Of course, there's other things that we get to do as well. There's the legislative day where we went to the Capitol and we got to meet our state senators and congressmen and women, and that was a great opportunity as well. And I'm sure Charlie has some stories that he would like to share with you all from his trip to Washington, D.C. It was actually his very first time there. So let's turn it over to Charlie for a bit.
Yeah, so as Jacqueline said, this past March, actually, it was my first trip to Washington, D.C., and what a blast it was. Just being able to be in our nation's capital where our lawmakers make laws for the nation, and being surrounded by so much history was truly amazing. Actually, the first night there, they fed us supper, and then we traveled or walked over. We do a lot of walking there. I learned
You're
that.
right.
But,
Charlie, didn't you walk 13 miles one day?
yes, Austin Stanton and I did. The Missouri Farm Bureau gave us about 5 hours to walk around and see whatever we wanted to see, and I told Austin that I wasn't sure when I'm coming back to DC, so I wanted to see as much as I could, and I don't think he knew what he was strapping himself in for at first, but by the end of the day, we walked at least 13 miles, and we easily won Blake's poll at the end of the day at supper by at least 4 miles or something from everyone else there who was walking around seeing everything. But so we actually got to go see tour the Capitol at night with Congressman Graves, which was really amazing. You know, I got off the plane, I ate, and then bam, I was there in the Capitol, and it was really truly amazing just to see that. We actually got to step foot on the House floor, which I was informed later by Eric Bohl that he, in fact, had worked in Washington, D.C. for 5 years, and it took him 4 years to be able to set foot on the House floor. And I was there for 2 hours, and I got to step there. So I'm not sure if that means I'm destined to be a politician, but if so, hopefully not. But in all seriousness, the Washington, D.C. trip was by far my favorite event from this past year. Just being able to hear from our congressmen, from legislation throughout Missouri, being able to talk to Vicki Hartzler, being in her office, and talk about important agricultural issues, and just being able to learn about agricultural issues happening in Washington throughout the week was truly eye-opening and just a great experience, and one that I'm very, very grateful for Missouri Farm Bureau supporting me. Another event that I was really after being selected as the ambassador last year, I was really excited to attend the Missouri State Fair, because I'm pretty sure about every year of my life I have actually gone to the State Fair, and every year we always drop by Missouri Farm Bureau, the building, and get the chocolate milk. I'm not sure how many gallons I've drank at this point in my life, but it's a lot, and it's worth it because it's really good and it's only 25 cents. Hopefully inflation doesn't raise that up here anytime soon. But being able to be in the Missouri Farm Bureau building for 2 whole days, seeing so many familiar faces and meeting so many new people was really fun. Just being able to talk with you guys. I got to run the straw poll with Ben Travelos. He's out here somewhere. These lights are really bright, so if you waved, I probably couldn't even see you still. But it was really fun, meeting so many new people and making a lot of friends along the way. So just being part of the Missouri State Fair in a different aspect is really, really fun. As Jacqueline said, I am very grateful that Missouri Farm Bureau helped provide a scholarship this past year helped me with my education. It is truly rewarding to have such a great organization help promote youth within agriculture and support youth like us. So thank you, Missouri Farm Bureau, for this amazing opportunity this past year. I kind of find it hard to describe exactly everything I've learned and everything I've gained this past year, just because it's been so much. And truly, I mean, it's just been an amazing year, so thank you guys. Help me welcome to the stage Blake Hurst, President of Missouri Farm Bureau. He'll be greeting each of our 6 finalists and then congratulate the 2019 ambassadors.
Once again, let's meet our finalists.
Jessica Janorski from Buchanan County.
Allie Locke from Carroll County.
Wyatt Wilson from Douglas County.
Tucker Biddick from Lawrence County.
Nathan Kinsey from Lincoln County.
Marlena Long from Monroe County.
After careful deliberation, the judges have selected the 2019 female ambassador to be Marlena Long from Monroe County.
And the 2019 male ambassador is Wyatt Wilson from Douglas County.
Let's once again say thank you to our talented contestants and have a round of applause for the 2019 Missouri Farm Bureau ambassadors.